At some point, everyone decided they wanted this. Not a normal job, not a stable job. This. Being a content creator. And it's kind of weird because 20 years ago, this wasn't even a real career. Now your friend wants to be one. Your cousin wants to be one. There are probably three people watching this right now thinking, yeah, I could do that. They aren't exactly wrong. So, why does everyone want to? At some point in our lifetime, things changed. We went from dreaming about being astronauts, teachers, and police officers to something very different. But it's not as if they ever stopped mattering. They're still a huge deal to this day. It's that they stopped feeling possible, or even worth it, to a lot of people. Becoming an astronaut takes decades. Teachers still struggle with decent pay, and being a police officer? That is a clear example of something that was made a lot harder in recent times. So when people say, you just don't want to work hard, no, Patricia, people just want effort to actually
Filtered.
mean something again. But recently, the thought of content creation being a job has begun gaining traction. What used to be a space for people to express how they feel has slowly opened up into a job market. And it's probably the most accessible job market out there. Anyone can upload. Your phone has everything you need to get started. In fact, it's so widespread. In high school, two of my teachers were streamers, and my volleyball coach uploaded the VODs of tournaments to YouTube. It's not just some niche concept anymore. It's the norm. But why? Why is it so appealing to the masses? I mean, my favorite part is not having to answer to a higher power. I am my own boss. Works great for tax write-offs. it's it is super easy to get started. People like myself get to express how we like doing things. The fake persona I set up in the real world can be cast aside, and I can see people enjoying what I create, seeing how people react to who I am, and what I find passion in. And, of course, if you make it big, you get paid. Depending on your engagement, audience, etc., you can be paid between $1 to $10 per 1,000 views. If you make a video that gets 5k views, that could be your weekly groceries. It all depends on your audience. At least, that's how it looks to those on the outside of the veil. Inside those walls, though, it becomes something entirely different. Something that takes those hopes of what it's like and crushes them underfoot. While some people still enjoy the process, there are many challenges people don't take into consideration when they dive into content creation. One of those things is probably the thing that will stop you from ever wanting to keep expanding onto this field. Editing. Oh God, where to start on editing? Probably the most time-consuming process when it comes to making videos, and the most stressful. Sometimes the thing that can make or break whether or not you become a content creator is whether you can keep up with the workload of editing. You open up the software ready for anything, then mentally crash 10 minutes later. I honestly think the gate of editing is one of the most decisive gates for content creation. And editing is one of the key factors in another one of the gates looming over content creators: burnout. Burnout is one of those things you hear about, but never fully grasp the scale of the situation until you experience it yourself. It's not just being tired, it's opening your project and not caring anymore. It's looking for something you used to enjoy and feeling nothing. No excitement, no motivation, no weight. And the worst part is that you know you should care, but it's not just content creation. Whether you work on a hobby for too long, or you work a 9 to 5 office job, you too can experience burnout, and it's hard to go through as a content creator. Whilst I know scripting and being stressed about the algorithm are two other issues, I don't have enough experience with those issues to qualify myself to speak on them. I could not do it justice. But the one thing I can say about the algorithm is how brutal it is. Because no matter how much time you put into a video, no matter how much effort, how much care, the algorithm doesn't really care about all that. It looks at how it performs. That's it. It watches how people react in the first few hours and then decides, oh yeah, this lives, or no, this dies here. And sometimes it just feels random. Like you did everything right, and it still goes nowhere. The algorithm is basically the final boss of content creation. It can make a channel or completely ignore it. And I should know. But if you somehow make it through all that, surely it's worth it, right? For me, it was. Because I didn't start this randomly. I was inspired. The chaotic energy of Maxor, the randomness of Russian Badger, the kindness of Markiplier, the grounded feel of 8-Bit Ryan, and the mystery behind Vettel 987 and Neurosama. That's what made me want to try. So in May of 2025, I did. I wasn't amazing at games. I wasn't some insane player, but I figured maybe I didn't have to be. Maybe I could just entertain people, make something they could relate to, and expect nothing back. That was the plan. Until it wasn't. Because the moment somebody donated to me on Twitch, everything changed. Suddenly, this wasn't just fun anymore. It was a possibility. So I tried something different. Instead of forcing out clips I didn't even enjoy making, I slowed down and made something I actually care about. A calm, documentary-style video on a topic I wanted to talk about. And I posted it, expecting maybe 300 views, 500 if I got lucky. It hit 20,000. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to quit my job and dive into content creation as my main source of income. Because that's not how this works. The truth, whether we like it or not, is that most people don't make it. That idea just kind of sits in the back of your mind, quietly reminding you with every decision you make. Trying to turn this into a career is a massive time investment. For some people, it takes weeks. For others, it takes years. Sometimes even over a decade. And a lot of that comes down to a mix of skill and luck. It takes skill to make something worth watching, but it also takes luck for it to actually get seen in the first place. And then there's the space itself. It's crowded, really crowded. So many people trying to do so many things at once. Standing out feels almost impossible sometimes. And even if you do, you might land in a niche so small that your videos just don't go anywhere. That's just the reality of it. But even with all that, it's not hopeless. Because there are people, thousands of them, who make a living doing this. People who started exactly where you are right now. And that's what makes it so enticing. So, why does everyone still want to be a content creator? Because it's one of the few paths that's open to almost anyone willing to try it. It rewards creativity. It rewards individuality. And every now and then, it works. Yeah, sometimes it feels like a lottery. Sometimes it feels completely out of your control. And in those moments, you kind of have to step back and ask yourself why you started in the first place. If you don't have an answer anymore, that's okay. You're allowed to walk away. Nothing is forcing you to stay. But if you do remember, if something is still there, take a break, reset, and try again. Just don't put everything into it. Have something stable, a job, a school, something to fall back on. Because if this doesn't work out immediately, and for most people it won't, you don't want that to feel like the end of the world. Because for most people, it's not just about becoming a content creator. It's about expressing yourself. It's about being seen.